Last night, the Rivers State House of Assembly was set ablaze by yet-to-be-known political thugs. This was over the alleged move to impeach the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, and leader of the House, Edison Ehie. This development came just as the civil society group Coalition of Democratic Vanguard, CDV, has issued a strongly worded warning to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Nyeson Wike, and his allies who are allegedly seeking to impeach Fubara and Ehie. It was gathered that some thugs in a white Hilux van invaded the Assembly complex at about 9 p.m. yesterday, disarmed the security personnel on duty, and allegedly carried out the act. It was learned that the incident occurred at the Assembly complex opposite the headquarters of the State Command Police on Moscow Road, Port Harcourt. A source disclosed that the legislature had concluded plans to impeach Fubara and Ehie today at its resumed sitting following some undisclosed issues. A security source who pleaded anonymity and confirmed the incident said it took efforts of police and the state fire service teams to put out the fire. All right. Fire. There's fire on the mountain, literally.
Yes.
In River
I'm going to start by joking a lot this morning, and I'm going to throw a lot of shades. Dr. Abati, please join me too. Somebody called me yesterday and said, be careful and be wary of Hallelujah Challenge, because Tonyeko just finished Hallelujah Challenge. And this is already happening. Mr. Tonyeko, God knows what you did during Hallelujah Challenge. We said it. We said it here. Politicians only think about themselves. We said it. We predicted it here, so we are not surprised. That former Governor Nyeson Wike was so concerned about how he can still sit tight in power. And that's why he did everything to put Sim Fubara in. But you see, what politicians forget, that Fubara is a man of his own. A man that has risen across the ranks all this while, and he done well for himself, served in your cabinet. You think you can control him? There are many stories out there. Some about signing paper checks and things like that. Some about even the Songhai farm that he wanted to revive. Whatever it is, when it comes to issues like this, you will know there will be many stories out there. But the truth is, I said Tonya, I keep saying Tonya because I don't know, maybe because I made a joke about him. Wike wants to overreach himself in Rivers State. And Wike needs to remember that he's not the governor of Rivers State. Pure and simple. Fubara is the elected governor. Hence the talk about impeachment in a couple of weeks, and the house now has been set ablaze. So the question is, who is going to rein Governor Wike in? Who is going to be able to tell him? Who can even speak to him? Because as we speak today, he's amorphous. If you say the chairman of his party should speak to him, which party chairman can speak to him in this country as we speak? Is he a member of the APC or the PDP? The last I checked, he's a member of the PDP. But he's meeting and frolicking with APC people in Rivers State. So what's really going on? And that's where you see the decadence in the system of Nigeria. Now, for their own political plots, they can go ahead and damage government property with their political thugs. Whatever it is, somebody has to rein him in, or else this fight will continue. And it's just starting. It's going to unfold in a matter of days. Will Fubara be able to hold his own? Do we think Fubara has that political clout to be able to hold his own against Wike? It's going to be tough, because Wike is highly ingrained in politics and Rivers politics. So only time will tell. But you can see for every Rivers people that were deceived, you can see in the first place, this was not about you. It was about how a political dynasty was going to continue through Mr. Fubara. And Mr. Fubara is saying, I'm not playing the game now. It's very sad what is happening in Rivers State. The people of Rivers deserve better governance than this.
Well, again, we are back to that story of the House of Assembly being made a special target of attack. You recall that in 2020, when I think the Deputy Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly was impeached and there were disagreements in that state, overnight, the roof of the Edo State House of Assembly was removed. It was alleged that the governor even gave instructions that the state government wanted to renovate the House of Assembly, and sand was heaped, in front of the Edo State House of Assembly. Now it is River State House of Assembly. As the story says, some hoodlums went there, overpowered the security personnel in charge of the place, and threw explosives into the building, which caused fire. And they targeted the main chamber of that legislative assembly, with the hope that, of course, nobody will be able to sit this morning to impeach anybody. But there have been, allegations that former governor and the godfather of the sitting governor, who used to be Accountant General of River State before he was anointed as a successor, that, there's no love lost between the godfather, who is in Abuja, and the governor. But what I have read, the allegation is made by a group called the Coalition of Democratic Vanguard, telling Minister Wike to concentrate on his work in Abuja and to allow Simi Fubara to govern in River State. And the allegation, of course, is to remind former Governor Wike that Rivers is not his personal estate. Well, all of this may still be at the level of allegations. I wouldn't be surprised if Minister Wike comes forward to say that, well, he's far away in Abuja and he has no hand in any attempt to impeach anybody. That after all, members of the House of Assembly are, elected representatives in their own right. It's likely to, come up with that kind of reaction. But nevertheless, there's this general perception on the street that a man who became governor in May, we are already talking about impeaching him, in October. And that coalition of Democratic Vanguard is saying, look, Rivers people, they are pleased with the performance of Governor Fubara so far. So we'll see how that drama plays out. But if it is confirmed that indeed it's a quarrel between Wike and Fubara that has led to this, then that will be most unfortunate indeed. That will mean, of course, that the people of Rivers, as is the case with people in other parts of the country, should learn a lesson. When a man comes and he says he has anointed XYZ as successor, there is never any guarantee that that successor would act as boy. The CDV that I quoted said, look, the major problem, in their view, is that Fubara had begun to assert himself against, an Abuja-based godfather who wants to dictate what happens. We have seen it happen before, but, it's still a development story. What is curious about what has happened in Rivers House of Assembly is that the Rivers House of Assembly, as reported, is directly in front of the State Police Command. So, which means that the security that is available in the assembly itself is not strong enough. And across the road, well, nobody was alerted. Maybe it was only after the explosion that the police, suddenly realized that, within the vicinity of the State Police Command, that act of impunity happened. However, now that the place has been secured by the security agencies, we hope that there will be a detailed investigation. One will expect that the Rivers House of Assembly will at least have CCTV cameras through which the assailants can be identified and brought to book. What is further important is that the governor himself has a responsibility, as long as he's on that chair and is able to secure his position, to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order in Rivers State. And that is by liaising, of course, with the various security agencies to prevent any breakdown, because it looks like the state is now divided. There are people who are saying they will make trouble. There are people who are saying, look, this is our state and we must protect it. Yes, indeed, the people have a responsibility to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order in Rivers State. Absolutely.
Well, according to the CDV, I'll just take a quote from them in terms of their perspective on what's going on in River State. It's quite unfortunate the arson attack on the River State House of Assembly complex. But as we have already established here this morning, there are underlying issues. And perhaps it's important to investigate those issues, to understand the reason for this, and then to learn lessons from it in terms of the fact that individuals should not be able or allowed to hold a state to ransom. Of course, this is a developing story, and so the investigation still being done, questions being asked, some people coming forward, sources here speaking without wanting to come forward in terms of revealing the identity. However, what can be said to have been established is that there is indeed political disagreement or personal disagreement between the godfather of the current governor of River State, now the FCT Minister, Nyeson Wike, and his anointed, Fubara. The CDV had said, River State is not the personal estate of Wike, quoting them now, as such should be allowed to be governed by the chosen one of River State, Governor Fubara, for the advancement of a greater River State. In that statement, the first question is, the chosen one of River State, well, he was first chosen by Governor Nyeson Wike, and then, through the ballots, was declared winner of the elections in River State. However, as already been mentioned, it seems now less than a year into his tenure, in fact, a few months into his tenure, because of perhaps the heavy-handedness of his godfather, Governor Fubara and himself have now come to an impasse. They are not, now at loggerheads. Unfortunately, this has now spilled over into the action or the act of governance. And this is what often happens. We've seen this play out. This is not the first time when it comes to incidents like this, whereby, people who have been chummy or political relationships which were chummy have gone sour. What then becomes a problem, because it's their personal issue, whatever happens between both of them, whatever agreement was not met, whatever high-handedness, however anyone wants to impose. But what it then becomes a big concern is when it affects the people and institutions like the Assembly, State House of Assembly, or complexes that belong to the people. Let's not forget, this is the asset of the people. So whatever is being burnt, people will have to pay for it. There's going to be budgetary allocation to fixing the problem. And so what the people do not want is for personal or political differences to descend into an issue where the people pay for what it is the disagreement between two people, allegedly. Because again, like we mentioned, it's a developing story. It happened last night. It's the information we have. We have our team on ground, and hopefully we'll get to speak to them in the course of the show this morning. What stands at the moment is that, unfortunately, a state asset has been destroyed to a certain extent. The complex, the main chamber being burnt, arson allegedly is by arsonists. Number two is that it is from supporters of one faction against another, or trying to defend someone. And let me speak to the youth at this point, because the reports that we've received from River State is that it's young people who have gone on to act out this attack. We often say this: do not die in their war. When Governor Nyeson Wike was going around River State campaigning and lifting the hands of Governor Fubara, you were not there during the meeting. Now, when it's time to settle scores, they then use, sometimes innocent people to carry out their plans, allegedly. And so this is something that we must look. The nation, your state is what is under contention at the moment. The people of River State must do what is ultimately beneficial for its state, because at the end of the day, it is personal interests involved. No man or woman should hold a state or a nation to ransom. The office of the citizen should and shall and must remain the most powerful office in the land. And it's the onus is on the people to defend their assets and not be used as political weapons or political, to be used in political fights to destroy state assets. We're hoping to receive more updates, as I've mentioned, on this particular story. And of course, hopefully the police will do due investigation, and all those who are found culpable will be brought to book with very harsh consequences to act as a deterrent, so we do not continue to see actions like this carried out.
We wake up this morning with a very troubling news. We have gone to the assembly to see for ourselves what has happened. On my way there, I was shot at directly by the OC operation, or DC, or whatever they call him. Directly, it's not. But it doesn't matter. Somebody will die, one way or the other. Either you die inside your house, or you die on the road by something. But so my journey today is, whatever it is that wants to happen, let it happen. If Siminalayi Fubara is impeached, I am not the first, neither will I be the last. Hold on. I'm saying if it happens. But what is important is any attempt that is not justified will be resisted. Let them come out. Tell Rivers people, that offense that is what I want. Come out and tell the people of Rivers State that offense that Fubara committed, that is warranting impeachment. So, but my happiness this morning is the people of Rivers State, represented by every one of you here, is with us. I can go home and sleep. Let me assure you people that we will continue to defend you people. We will protect you people. And you will enjoy the dividend of democracy. Let me thank you again. I don't want to say more than this. At the appropriate time, I will address the press. Thank you.
What would I do if I lost my election petition appeal at the Supreme Court? In response, I said that as long as Nigeria wins, the struggle would have been worth the while. By that, I meant that the bigger loss would not be mine, but Nigeria's, if the Supreme Court legitimizes illegality, including forgery, identity theft, and perjury, as it has done. If the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, implies by its judgment that crime is good and should be rewarded, then Nigeria has lost, and the country is doomed irrespective of who occupies the presidential seat. If the Supreme Court decides that the electoral umpire, INEC, can tell the public one thing and then do something else in order to reach a corruptly predetermined outcome, then there is really no hope for the country's democracy and electoral process. Obviously, the consequences of those decisions for the country will not end at the expiration of the current government. They will last for decades. I am absolutely sure that history will vindicate me. We now know what the Supreme Court has decided. At critical points in my political life, I always ignored the easy but ignorable path in choosing the difficult but dignified path, the path of truth, of morality, of democracy, and the rule of law. I always chose freedom over servitude. Whatever the personal discomforts my choice entails. When I joined politics, the critical challenge was easing the military out of power so that civilian democratic governance could be restored in Nigeria. It later became a very defining struggle, and as one of the leaders of that struggle, I was targeted for elimination. In one incident, 9 policemen guarding my home in Kaduna were murdered in an attempt to assassinate me. I was also forced into exile for 9 months because of that incident. In addition, my interest in a logistics company that I co-owned was confiscated and given to friends of the military government. As vice president in the civilian government that succeeded the military, I, again, at great personal cost, chose to oppose the extension of the tenure of the government beyond the 2 4-year terms enshrined in our constitution. At the current historic moment, the easier option for me would have been to fall off and retreat after the mandate banditry perpetrated by the APC and INEC. But I went to the Nigerian courts to seek redress. I even went to an American court to help with unraveling what our state institutions charged with such responsibilities were unwilling or unable to do, including unraveling the qualifying academic records of the person sworn in as our president, and by implication, hopefully, who he really is. I offered that evidence, procured with the assistance of the American court to our Supreme Court, to help it do justice in this case. I give this background to underscore that what we are currently dealing with is bigger than 1 or 2 presidential elections, and is certainly bigger than Atiku Abubakar. It is not about me. It is about our country, Nigeria, and your future. It is about the kind of society we want to live for the next generation, and what kind of example we want to set for our children and their children. It is about the reputation of Nigeria and Nigerians in the eyes of the world. We showed incontrovertible evidence that Bola Tinubu was not qualified to contest the presidential election because he forged the qualifying academic certificate which he submitted to INEC. In fact, a simple check on Tinubu's past records in his possession would have shown INEC that Tinubu broke the law and should not have been allowed to contest the election in the first place. We showed irrefutable evidence of gross irregularities, violence, and manipulations during the elections. We showed incontrovertible evidence that INEC violated the Electoral Act and deliberately sabotaged its own publicly announced processes and procedures in order to illegally declare Tinubu elected. The position of the Supreme Court, even though final, leaves so much unanswered. Even the rebuke by retired Justice Musa Dattijo Mohammed is a confirmation from within the Apex Court that all is not well with the Supreme Court. The court, and indeed the judiciary, must never lend itself to politicization, as it is currently the norm with nearly every institution in Nigeria. By the way, the strong rebuke of the Apex Court by a revered justice who had meritoriously served for more than 4 decades should not be swept under the carpet. The alarm raised by Justice Mohammed and recently former INEC Chairman Professor Tahiru Jega offer Nigerians an explanation into why the electoral and judicial system have become the lost, not the last, but the lost hope of the common man. Judges are no longer appointed based on merit, but are products of the interplay of politics and nepotism. Worse still, the appointment of electoral officials has also been hijacked by the ruling party as seen in the latest nomination of resident electoral commissioners, where card-carrying members of the ruling party and aides to politicians in the APC are being appointed into INEC. When two critical institutions like the court and the Electoral Commission are trapped in an evil web of political marginalization, it becomes next to impossible for democracy to thrive.